shopping different, cooking different. Okay.
Yeah? Okay. So, the Baal Shem Tov, before he became known as the Baal Shem Tov, before he was Nisgala, as they say, he would go around to different towns and, to speak to the Yidden around there. They didn't really know exactly who he was, and he would just encourage them with Ne'er Hashem, and he would get a lot of inspiration from how they would serve Hashem, even even though they were simple in their simplicity. So, in one particular place, he stopped at an inn, and he sees that the children are there. The children of the owner of the inn was a Yid. He sees his children are there, but he's not there. So he asked, "Where is your father?" It was already later on in the day, and they say he's davening. So fine, davening. He figures it's so late. He's probably almost finished. 2 hours later, finally, this guy comes out, and he explains to him that, I just finished davening because I'm a very simple Yid. I can barely read with nikudot, with the vowels. And the instructions in the Siddur that are without vowels, I have no clue what they're saying. So I'm forced to daven the whole davening, and he davens Rosh Hashanah davening, he davens, he says the whole Siddur from the cover to cover, just in order to make sure he's davening to Hashem. And he realized that the Baal Shem Tov was a Talmud Chacham. He knew Torah, he knew how to read, he knew everything. So he said, "Can you please help me?" So the Baal Shem Tov sits down with him. He sits down with him for a good hour, and he writes down on papers, right? Like bookmarks, and he writes, "This is for Shabbos, and this is for Shachar, this is Mincha, this is Ma'ariv, this is for Rosh Hashanah, this is for Motzei Shabbos, Kiddush Havana," all the different things. He writes down what it's for, and he puts it on the shelf, and that's it. This person's so happy that now he's be able to daven properly. The Baal Shem Tov tells him that he's going to go on his way. He's going to go a certain direction, and he goes off. A little bit later, out of nowhere, the Siddur falls out of the shelf. It opens up, and all the bookmarks fall out inexplicably. It falls down, and the pages open, and naturally these bookmarks fall out. And he's like, "Oy vey, what am I going to do now? I just had the Baal Shem Tov help me. He didn't. Right, I just had this Talmud Chacham help me with all these bookmarks, and now I'm back to square one." So he says, "You know what? I have to run after him." He didn't leave too long ago. He goes, he walks for a few miles, and he knew which direction he was going in, and he sees the Baal Shem Tov. So he goes and he tries to catch up to him, and as he's about to reach him, he sees that the Baal Shem Tov is coming to a river, and the river was at a time of the year that it was very, very strong currents, and it was dangerous to cross. So he's about to shout out to him, to warn him, "Don't try to cross." And he sees the Baal Shem Tov takes out a handkerchief, puts it on the river, and steps on it, and so he just glides over the water as if it was the most natural thing, and he goes to the other side. So him being a simple person, he's like, okay. He takes out his handkerchief to follow him, and he goes, and the same thing happens for him. He runs after Baal Shem Tov, he calls out his name, he's all out of breath. Finally, Baal Shem Tov hears him, and Baal Shem Tov turns around, and he says, "How did you get here? How did you cross the river?" He said, "The same way you did. You used your handkerchief, so I used mine." Baal Shem Tov looks at him and he says, if you were able to do this, and he explains to him the whole thing with the Siddur and the bookmarks coming out. If you were able to do this, and somehow the Siddur opened and all things fell out, it's a sign that Hashem has a lot of pleasure from you taking the time to daven the entire Siddur. Keep on doing what you were doing. So, like many stories here about the Baal Shem Tov, sometimes it's not about doing everything correctly. Obviously, you have to do it as correctly as we know, but it's doing it b'leiv shalom, to serve God with all our, as it says, with all our hearts and with all our might.
I've been dropping my Siddur every week since.
All right, good to people. All right.
Okay. Guys is going to miss the shenanigans.